Hey, thank you for joining me. We're going to have some Friday fun, and this weekend, there's one thing you're probably expecting me to comment if you've been paying attention to the Friday fun videos, because this weekend there's actually sports to report on because the NFL draft is taking place. First round was yesterday. They're going to get into more of the draft over the next couple days. But everyone's going to be talking about this. Everyone who enjoys football is going to be paying attention this year because there's not anything else for us to pay attention to, really. And I haven't seen any big news from the first round this year. It seems pretty much like teams did what was expected. There wasn't a huge report of teams doing something out of the ordinary, any team doing something that people didn't think was smart. The Packers did draft a quarterback who's supposed to be the heir apparent to Aaron Rodgers, which is exactly what they did when they drafted Aaron Rodgers to replace Brett Favre. So no big shakeup there. Maybe a shock that the Patriots try to move up to take a quarterback, but I also don't think that's a big shock. They're not normally ones to do something like that with quarterback. Joe Burrow taken number one, Cincinnati Bengals, no shock. So not a whole lot of crazy stuff happened in the first round of the draft. A lot of teams are going to get players who are all but guaranteed playmakers. There are a lot of offensive linemen getting taken in the first round, but that's not even that surprising because the offensive line is seen as so essential for teams nowadays. The offensive line helps the running back get space so they can run the ball, helps protect the quarterback so they can throw it well. It's very well known you need really good offensive lines, and not a lot of teams have a very good offensive line, so not a surprise to see a lot of offensive linemen taken. Not a surprise to see a lot of playmaking defenders taken. There's supposed to be a lot of really good wide receivers, and so it's not surprising those were picked up. The big shocks, the big questions will be more from the draft today and tomorrow. What players get picked up and they get drafted a bit too early. There's only one player that was drafted earlier than expected so far. So, that's going to happen more today. What teams are addressing their needs versus just picking up players that seem like they're really good but don't fit into the team. That's going to come up a whole lot more after the first round. At the moment in the first round, the thought is if there is a guaranteed playmaker that fits a need, that's what you do first. And then a lot of times in the first round, if there is a playmaker who you can fit into your team, even if it's not a serious need, you're going to go for that player. And only then are you going to say more, well, we do need to fit someone into this gap, and we'll just take whatever we can get there. That kind of thinking of filling those gaps will come more into the later rounds. So won't be surprised to see some of it starting to happen in the second, third round, but that'll kind of come later. Not seeing anything crazy, not seeing any teams doing anything bizarre. The Miami Dolphins are cashing in all of the draft picks that they got from selling off all their players. No big surprise there. As a Bears fan, obviously, first round, there's not been much of anything for me to care about. The Bears sold off all their first round picks to get Khalil Mack and maybe another player or two over the last few years. So Bears have very few draft picks, which doesn't bode well for this upcoming season, especially since the Bears' only two quarterbacks are Mitch Trubisky and Nick Foles. So we'll kind of see what they do. They need help on the offensive line. They also just need someone who can make a decent play. I mean, whether it's Trubisky's fault they're not getting the big plays, or whether the receivers and the running backs just aren't making those plays for the Bears. They need help making plays on offense. The defense, this last year, they weren't as good. I know they weren't as good, and they've lost some of their playmakers on defense, so they do need some work. I think especially in the secondary. But the story for the Bears for a long time has been they have an awesome defense. If they could get an average offense, they would be dominant. And uh, I wouldn't be surprised if that's still true. And so we'll see what the Bears do. There are tons of receivers in this draft. Hopefully, the Bears can get one of them in the second round. Hopefully, the Bears can get some help on the offensive line, whether that's second, third round. Um, we will have some holes to fill in defensively too, but yeah, it's the NFL draft. I normally will pay little to no attention to it. I'll catch a recap, and that's about it. But there's so little else going on for obvious reasons that I'm definitely going to try to stay plugged into the draft, see what the Bears are doing, especially. It will be interesting to see for some other teams. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers are getting offensive line help so that Tom Brady isn't forced to rush and throw as many interceptions as Jameis Winston did last year. The Patriots, what on earth are they doing? I mean, who knows what's going on since they lost Tom Brady? We'll see. There will probably be trades as well. People will swap draft picks and swap players and move around to try to get certain players in the draft, and so I'm sure there's going to be some trade that just goes nuts along with this. We'll see. I don't know. Well, yeah, Friday fun. It's the weekend of the NFL draft, so it's one of the bigger, just fun things that have been going on lately. So I'd encourage you, if you're like me and you're really been wanting some sports, the NFL draft should provide a lot of that sports emotion and excitement. So, if you're interested, tune into the draft. And it's not like I'm going to do any kind of crazy draft recap or anything unless I'm so excited on the one hand or upset on the other hand about how the Bears did in the draft that I just have to get another video out. Then most likely next week's Friday Fun is going to be another completely different topic. But yeah, thanks for listening. I hope you are finding some ways to have fun. Today's supposed to be a nicer day, so maybe you're going to go outside today. Just have some fun, even though we're quarantined. Even though you're going to need to keep social distance, have some fun. So thank you for joining me. God bless you guys. Bye.